Hi everyone, welcome today to today's webinar. My name is Gabrielle Hughes and I'm Content Marketing Manager here at ProsperWorks. In today's session, Zapier and ProsperWorks are teaming up to discuss some of the ways automations can help you close more deals. Our joint customer Cyberbytes will also be on hand to share why they sign up for ProsperWorks and Zapier and what Zaps they're using to streamline sales. So today's experts are Britt from ProsperWorks, Kim from Zapier, and Alex from Cyberbytes. If you have questions throughout the webinar, please submit them in the questions pane on your GoToWebinar control panel, and they'll be addressed during the question and answer portion of the session. And a recorded version of today's webinar will also be available after the broadcast. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim, and she's going to do a quick intro of Zapier.
Hi everybody, my name is Kim Kadiala and I'm a marketer at Zapier. And part of my job is discovering and sharing the cool ways our users are automating their work, which is some of what we'll be doing today. So just a brief overview of Zapier and what it is and what it's all about. Zapier is a workflow automation tool that helps make you more productive. And to clear up a common question straight off the bat, it's pronounced Zapier, as in Zapier makes you happier. Not Zapier or anything. Zapier, maybe if you're French. Zapier connects apps together and makes it possible for the apps that you use during your workday to talk to each other. So in my own workday, I use more apps than I can count. I use Gmail for email, Slack for team communication, Typeform for data collection, Airtable to organize that data. I mean, the list goes on, and I can't get my work done without these tools. But wouldn't it be great if these apps could talk to each other so I didn't have to manually copy and paste bits of information from one of my apps to another? Zapier solves that problem by letting you automate that tedious manual transfer of data, and beyond that, enables you to build workflows that otherwise just wouldn't be possible. And we call those workflows Zaps. So, for example, if I'm collecting signups for a webinar like this one, I can capture registrants in a form, then add those registrants to an email list, and then automatically send an email out with the recording the day after the webinar. So overall, the result is greater productivity for individuals and for teams. At Zapier, we like to say there are some jobs that humans do well and some jobs that computers do well. And we help the computers do as much work as possible so that you're free to focus on the more creative and strategic parts of your job. What else can I say? There's no coding required when setting up a Zap. Anyone can use it, from marketers. We also have developers that do use it, but you don't need to know any code to set up an automation. And Zapier currently connects with over 750 apps. So if you're using an app at work, it's very likely that we already connect to it on our platform. I think that's all I have to say about Zapier. I can hand it off to you guys to tell us about ProsperWorks.
Awesome. Hi guys, I'm Brittany. I'm an AE here at ProsperWorks. What is ProsperWorks? We are actually Google's only CRM partner in that space. So certainly a huge differentiator for us as a company. That happened about a year and a half ago that we officially started working with Google in that relationship. We came out of beta about 2.5 years ago when it was considered very risky to come onto the market. In the interim, there were about 50 other CRMs that existed that were comparable to us, but we really shown out the competition through our deep Google integration. So automatic ingestion of all your emails into the system with your contacts. All your tasks and calendar events go directly into Google Calendar, so we're certainly just an extension of what most of our clients know best, which is simply Google. We like to think that we are the only CRM that teams actually love to use because it's primarily built into Gmail. So I spend about 90% of my workday just working out of Gmail. I can access all my contacts, add new contacts to the system, look up past communication, things like that, all from within my inbox. So some ways that ProsperWorks uses Zapier. Zapier is something that we're constantly using throughout our workday. And Kim, if you could toggle over to the next slide. Not only are we using it in our everyday workday, but all of our customers are using this in one way or another. So I've highlighted some main Zaps that I've either recommended or used personally. The first one is going to be MailChimp for marketing automation. So very well-known platform, super easy to use. Many of our customers use MailChimp to send one tailored email to hundreds or even thousands of people at once. If you bring Zapier into the equation, this allows every new lead added to ProsperWorks to simultaneously be added to a MailChimp list or a sequence so that we're nurturing and keeping in touch with every contact in the database. Second one, inventory management, Shopify. Many people know of Shopify. It's typically used to process merchandise purchases either in store or online. However, there's no way to see the entire history of interaction with that customer or their purchase preferences and trends within Shopify alone. Using Zapier, each time someone purchases something through Shopify, that customer and their purchase total can automatically be added to ProsperWorks, start tracking customer interaction and preferences, including email interaction, phone calls you've taken, purchase trends, and even other coworkers that have worked with that same customer before. QuickBooks, everyone knows QuickBooks or used it. QuickBooks makes it super easy to invoice customers and keep track of accounting. But what if we could automate this process? Using Zapier, every time a deal is marked as closed in ProsperWorks, that can automatically invoice or bill that same client through QuickBooks. And when that invoice or bill is paid, that can record as an activity back in ProsperWorks, keeping the theme of consolidating every customer interaction within one activity feed in ProsperWorks. Twilio. Many of our customers are talking to their leads or their customers over the phone constantly, myself included. For that reason, we want to make it as easy as possible for that data to get into our system. So using Zapier, anytime a call is made from Twilio, that can log instantly as a phone call in ProsperWorks to make sure that we're getting every point of communication into that activity history. And then final example here, Zendesk. This is one that we use here at ProsperWorks, and like many of our customers, our support team is constantly helping to answer questions that are submitted. Our support team leverages Zendesk to communicate with our customers, but account execs like myself need to know when and why that communication is taking place as well. So using Zapier, every time a ticket is submitted by an existing customer, that can log as an activity in the activity feed of their record in ProsperWorks, along with their emails, phone calls, meetings, etc. So because of Zapier, I'm able to have the context of every conversation that's been had with my customers, even if it's someone else in my company. So pass it back to Alex.
Yeah, so we're gonna jump into Zap real quick, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to steal that from you, but it's super cool to hear how ProsperWorks is using Zapier, and I thought that I would just demo how to build a Zap so that you can believe me when I say that it's quite easy. Oops. All right. So a popular way to use Zapier with ProsperWorks, I'd say is through a form tool. So maybe you have a contact form on your website where you're capturing quote requests or sales demos. So you can use Zapier to connect that form to your CRM so that the responses get logged as prospects automatically. So I'll do that with you guys live, and bear with me because building anything live is like tense for me as a human being. So we'll probably assume that something will go wrong, but let's try it out. So if you don't already have a Zapier account, you can sign up for one. There's a free forever plan. It doesn't require a credit card to sign up, and then you also get a 2-week trial of our full feature set. So make sure you sign up for an account if you don't already have one, or if you do, you can log in, which is what I'm going to do. And this is the page you would see when you first log into Zapier. We call this our Explore page, and it basically lists all 800 apps that Zapier connects to. But I'm going to go ahead and search for ProsperWorks since I know that that's the app we're going to be using. If I scroll down here, I'd see a lot of popular automations with ProsperWorks and other apps. And if you saw something that kind of sparks your interest, you could click use this app and it'll open up a template that will guide you through building that Zap step by step. And that's a really helpful way if you're just getting started with Zapier and you need maybe a bit of hand holding for setting up your first automation. But since we're superstars, we're going to make our own Zap from scratch. So just to cover a quick rundown on terminology, every Zap has a trigger app, which kicks off the Zap, and then one or more action apps, which is an event the Zap performs. So my trigger app in this case is going to be the form that I'm collecting my lead data through. And let's say I use Typeform on my site. And so my trigger is going to be anytime a new entry for that form is submitted. It'll ask me for my Typeform credentials just so Zapier can get your form data. I've already added those here, so I'm just going to test it and make sure that my credentials are working, which they are. And then it will ask me to choose my Typeform entry, so you'll already have to have your form set up. Mine is called Lead Gen Form. And then to test that trigger step, it's going to fetch an existing entry to that form and make sure it's connecting properly. So I'm going to pop over to my form, which is just asking my lead for their name, my company name, and my email address. So then I'll check in Zapier, and it found my entry. So we'll move on to the action step, which is then ProsperWorks, because this is the result of the trigger step. I'm going to create a new lead in ProsperWorks for that form entry. Here's where I would connect my ProsperWorks credentials, which I've already done, so I will just test it. And this is probably the most important part of setting up the Zap, because you're telling Zapier where to map the fields from your trigger into your action step. So you're basically building a blueprint for your automation. So every time the form is received, I want to tell it what to do with that form data. So I had filled out my name, so I'm going to map the name, the first name field. I actually only submitted my first name. My form collects the email address, so I'll map that field. And it asked for the company. You can add tons of other data too, whatever data you're collecting from your lead, but we'll keep it simple for the moment. So I will just continue here. And to test that, it's going to go ahead and create a new lead in ProsperWorks. And then I can check that by going over to ProsperWorks and taking a peek at my leads. And there I am. Perfect. So now that we did it. So now that we've created this blueprint, which is the Zap, now anytime anyone fills out my lead form on my website, that lead will be created in ProsperWorks, and you can get them into your pipeline automatically. So you would just need to name your Zap and turn it on. That's it.
Woohoo!
Woo, we did it. I can't tell you that this is a bit nerve-wracking. I would say it always works. Just when you're on a call, it's of course not going to work. But I will pass it back to Alex to tell us all about Cyberbytes and how his company uses automation.
Perfect. Hey, thanks, Kim. Yeah, so that's a great foundation. What I'm going to be speaking more to is going a little bit deeper with Zapier, ProsperWorks, and other SaaS software to show you what can be done with it. So quick background, I'm Alex from Cyberbytes, and I started the company 7 years ago in 2010, and at that time we just did some web development and online marketing. At that point, having the struggle that every small business faces, when should I hire my first employee? Rather than immediately hiring, I started to build in automation into the business, with proposal and contract automation, time tracking, accounting, invoicing, project management, support, all these different facets that take to run a company. Having 1 or 2 people doing that, you can utilize automation instead of having to go out and hire early on. So I really wanted to stretch myself as thin as possible before having to hire someone, and that's where automation came into play in Zapier and everything. So since we started off in the small business space, most of our clients in IT needed, we're actually still on the prior, yeah. Most clients in the IT space, they needed IT work done in addition to online marketing and things like that. We had a background in IT, so we kind of just jumped into that as well. Still doing the online marketing and having our clients help them grow and bring in more leads, they always wanted more leads. But we started to notice, hey, they're not taking full advantage of the leads that they actually have already. So that's where we kind of took a step back and we got our clients set up on different CRM software, other SaaS software that we have been utilizing internally, because we're like, hey, it works really well for us, it can work for our clients as well. So at that point, our company kind of shifted from what it was before to now more of an automation company, helping customers and small and medium businesses solve problems and run more efficiently by utilizing the great software that's available, like ProsperWorks. So this is where ProsperWorks comes in. So we can go to the next slide. So I've personally tried just about every CRM on the market, as well as many different PSAs. Those are professional service automation solutions. And we ultimately decided on ProsperWorks. So the deep integration that they have with G Suite is astonishing. And we've been very big proponents of Google. We're actually Google partners as well, so we resell G Suite and everything. And we really believe in their solution. So no other CRM that we've used has really come as close as ProsperWorks has come with the G Suite integration. So there's definitely some great CRMs and PSAs out there that we have tried. Some of them do a lot of things, but so I want to take in a little analogy here. So take an electric saw, for example. You can use it to cut wood, tile, and even pizza, but it wasn't designed for cutting food. So just because you can cut pizza with it, it doesn't mean that you should do it. Yes, it's more than capable. So there are more cost-effective and better fit solutions to cut pizza, like a pizza cutter. So those are more user-friendly than electric saw. The training and time to learn on how to use it is very minimal, and a wide range of people can use it. Now, something like Salesforce or a PSA is more closely resembling the electric saw. It does a lot of things, but there is a lot of training, maintenance, setup involved. It's expensive. And that's where you can just cut a piece of pizza. If you use that to just cut a piece of pizza, you're going to make a total mess. So no different than when you want to cut a piece of paper. You don't go for electric saw, right? Or even the pizza cutter. You go for the scissors. And let me tell you that there's most definitely a great scissor company out there that has made it their mission to build the best damn shears on the market. And those are the ones that you should be using, not the electric saw or the bandsaw. So now that we're done with this very cheesy analogy, great. We have a bunch of awesome tools. What the heck do we do with them next? So that's where Zapier comes into play. So why did we sign up for Zapier? We see Zapier as kind of the utility belt of SaaS software. It allows you to quickly switch data between the tools that you have and organize everything set up within the company, so all these different SaaS software. And better than just being a utility belt, imagine that it actually hammers the nail for you and then automatically switches over to the shears or the wire cutters and uses them when they're needed. So it's kind of a smart utility belt that's doing all of these things on the back end. So with all this different SaaS software that we're using, we really needed some type of way for it all to communicate. And we needed a foundation. And that's where Zapier is for us. So the next slide here, we just have a quick example of a bunch of different Zaps that we have set up that we're using internally with our company. I'm just going to run through just a couple in here, and we're going to go deeper with some of the examples to really show you where we can best utilize Zapier and get a lot done. So for instance, an example is you can have it add a lead or a contact in the ProsperWorks after filling out the form exactly Kim had showed us, and it works great. And then you can use Zapier to even do more complex actions within the same software. So you can see in the top left here, there's a bunch of Zaps that have two ProsperWorks logos in it. So for example, one of them, we're actually using the action to create a task within ProsperWorks to follow up. So you call up, a client, you're working on an opportunity, you leave a voicemail. So you log in there, hey, left a voicemail, they didn't answer the phone, told them I called them back. So Zapier is sitting and watching and sees, okay, they just logged an event for a voicemail, and now it automatically creates a task within ProsperWorks set 2 days in the future telling you to call that person back. So now you don't need to set a task and say, I need to call them back because they didn't answer. Now ProsperWorks, when your employees go in the next day or 2 days from now, the system ProsperWorks is actually telling them what they need to be doing for the day. Hey, I need to call up with Betsy because I called her a couple days ago and she didn't answer. and allows you to stay on top of everything. And then we have, Zapier watching QuickBooks for a new payment to notify us in Slack and post the activity within ProsperWorks. And then we have some help desk going on, pushing to ProsperWorks as well. So we're going to jump through, go into deeper examples with a few of these. So we're just going to go to the next slide and talk more about the tools that we utilize on a day-to-day with our clients. So what are the tools in the tool belt? Let's dive into this. So there's, ProsperWorks, we kind of talked a bit about it, and that's the CRM. That's going to be kind of the backbone that we look at as the core foundation. Then Slack is for internal communication. That's meant to really replace a lot of the email for internal communication. It's more of a chat messenger that other software could bake into and message into. Then there's Asana, which is meant for project management. There's also like Trello and a few different ones as well. We specifically use Asana a lot with our clients, and that allows you to manage tasks for employees. So maybe you have a client and you have a certain set of tasks you need to do within a project. You manage it within there. You could do some of that within ProsperWorks, but ProsperWorks really works best when you're using it for sales and communication and tasks associated with that. Like I need to follow up with Betsy or things related to specific opportunities. Whereas a project management software is really built well for actually, these are the tasks I need to run through in a project and how to manage it and complete it. The next one we have listed here is Help Scout, and that's a help desk that allows you to manage incoming sales and support requests. Then we have Google Forms, which is just a quick, she had showed you, there's many different examples of that where you can have a customer survey going out or just a form on your website. Reply, it's a 1-to-1, 1-to-20, 1-to-50 email marketing solution. So that allows you to send out emails that are coming directly from you. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with MailChimp. This more so sends it from, say, Bob at ABC Corp, a specific person within the company, and it sends it to a smaller set of people, and they can be really customized messages, and it feels like the recipient feels like you're actually emailing them directly. So it gets a better kind of sell-through rate, and people respond to it better because they don't feel like they're being automated to, but at the end of the day, they are being automated to. It just does that very well. The next one in here, QuickBooks, that's for accounting, invoicing. Then we have Airtable. It's a user-friendly database. It allows you to store data kind of in a spreadsheet like in Excel if you're used to that. Maybe some data that you don't necessarily want in ProsperWorks specifically. It just allows you to visualize and keep up records of information. And the last one we have listed here is Harvest, and that's meant for time tracking, invoicing, project cost analysis tracker, and a bit more. So let's dive into, I know Kim went through one example, so on the next slide here, she went through one example about how essentially you use Zapier to do a one trigger to do an action. So we're going to go a little bit deeper here and just show you an example of how to use a trigger, do a few actions, and when you should use a filter. So filters are very important to use with Zapier. So right now we have a trigger that's watching, and this trigger is watching for when the status of an opportunity is switched to 1. The thing is, the trigger watches for when the opportunity status has changed. So that's for won, lost, or abandoned. So in this very specific scenario, we only wanted to do an action when it is marked as 1. So when this opportunity is 1. So we have the filter in here that says only continue if the status exactly matches 1. So that means now if we mark something as abandoned or lost, it's going to decline it and not continue further, which is exactly what we want it to do. The same thing with pipeline ID. We're pulling out the sales pipeline here. That's just the specific ID that's associated with the sales pipeline, but you might have a hiring pipeline within ProsperWorks. So you don't want to mark someone as 1 within there and have it create a client within your invoicing software. That doesn't make any sense. So we're saying only pay attention to the pipeline ID specifically for the sales pipeline. And then the middle one, and we're telling it to do and. So it needs to hit all this criteria in order to continue forward. So we're saying if the company type name is equal to a current customer, then don't continue. So if it does not match current customer, then continue. So we're pretty much saying if they're not already an existing client of ours, then we want to continue because we want to create the client within Harvest. We want to then create the contact tied to the client within Harvest. Then we want to create a project for that specific opportunity and tie that all into Harvest. And then at the end of that, we're doing one more additional action, which is posting a nice chat message into Slack, notify the team, hey, a sales opportunity has been won. Here's what the information of the opportunity, here's some details, and here's what you need to do. So we just have a full step-by-step article that you could jump into, just a quick link there. If you're interested in this specific example, I go a little bit deeper with it, and you can actually build it in your own Zapier account. So here's a little bit more of a complex Zap, but you can really do a lot of cool stuff with it once you kind of understand filters and go a little bit deeper. So let's kind of start from the ground up here. We're going to go to the next slide and just start with a little bit of a story that you could hopefully relate to. So you have a contact form on your website. You have the name, type of work, email address, things like that. So what happens when they fill out that information and click get my free quote? Well, Zapier is sitting there and watching, and it says, hey, someone submitted the quote. No different than the setup that Kim had set up. So you can use Google Forms and many other things as well, and it can create the lead and push that data into ProsperWorks. And now you have this lead in ProsperWorks, and you have an automated task in there as well saying, hey, I need to call or follow up with this person within 24 hours. So now your team can stay on top of new leads that are coming into the system. So let's move on to the next slide. So let's say that we have this lead in the system, and then we qualify them. We call them up, and great, they're a perfect fit for our company. So now we're going through the sales cycle. So this is just a quick example of a pipeline, and your pipeline will definitely vary. So you're going to have different stages within the pipeline. So maybe first you qualify, then you have a meeting scheduled, and each stage is going to be dependent on your specific pipeline and your sales process. So here we're just showing an example of when they hit a certain stage within the pipeline, they're getting pushed over to reply. And what that is doing is it's specifically tailoring. So you can see 25% complete is mirrored over to 25% complete, a specific campaign within reply. So, and when they move into that specific stage, there's automatically copied over to that. So then the next stage, where number 2, it actually shows you, hey, here's a specific person, and they're added to a campaign, but the email is very tailored. It says, hi, Jim, and if you skim through, it says, ABC Corp really sounds like an interesting company. You go even further, and it says, use this promo code to waive the application fee, and it's a very unique promo code. It's specific to that person. So where's that data being pulled from? Well, those are the custom fields that are stored within ProsperWorks with that specific opportunity, and then Reply allows you to take that very customized data and just automatically email market out to these people, and it's very tailored. So this email is coming directly from Bob at ABC Corp, and then, hey, if they don't respond in 7 days or 15 days, you can send a follow-up message. So if they don't reply, then you can have it send another friendly email, and it feels very casual, and it feels genuine. It doesn't feel like it's just a large automated email. So let's move on to the next slide here. So now that we have this customer that we sold, because the automation works so well throughout the sales process, now we need to support them or manage a bunch of incoming leads. So this is where we use a support desk. And if you don't have one in your company right now, I do highly recommend getting on board with something. It allows you to better delegate. So right now you may have people who you need to support, and they may email you directly, Bob at ABC Corp. The thing is, you want it to go to your team, so then you can delegate, assign it to different people, and better manage it all. So the way that this is working right now is someone sends in a support request, and we have Zapier sitting and watching and says, oh, hey, there's a new support request within Help Scout. So we're going to actually take that now and create an activity. This is Zapier doing this, and we're going to post it to that specific company within ProsperWorks. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner here, now that a new request came in, there is a support ticket that is logged within the company. So now this coincides with all the email exchanges, all the phone calls, all the voicemail logged. You're just going to see support requests popped in here as well. And you can filter down the activity types to just show support requests. And then the nicest bit about this too is we have a quick link to view the conversation. So if you click view conversation, it's going to open up into Help Scout or into the help desk, and you can go and respond to it. And then we have a view task. That actually brings you to the project management solution, which is what we're going to be talking about on the next slide that we're going to now. So now that we have a bunch of emails coming into the help desk, this is where we need one central place to manage it that's better for the team. So hopefully you have some type of project management solution within your company already. This allows you to delegate tasks throughout the company. So you may have a project set up for one of your specific clients, and here's everything that needs to be done. You have certain deadlines put in there. So now we just have one extra project pulled in for support tickets. So whenever someone sends in a support ticket, it just gets copied over into this is Asana, and it gets copied over into this project management software, and then it gets mirrored over the assigning. So essentially, if in Help Scout you assigned it to one person, it would mirror over to them as well. So now that they're in this system, you could assign priorities, if the status is in progress, and then you can see a quick email thread, and then you can add additional tasks. So I want to, close out the support ticket. Well, here are the tasks that you need to do. You can set certain deadlines for each task. You could collaborate with team internally. So the great thing about this is you have your employees who are working out of their project management software on a daily basis. And now all these support requests actually get pushed into the system they're already used to using. And now they're able to manage and delegate support requests in addition to the day-to-day project management that they need to do. So now it's all in one system. And the great thing with this too is Harvest is baked directly into it. So Harvest we use for time tracking, invoicing, and so you can see here in the top right hand corner, you can click the little time tracking icon here and pull in, so this specific project that was created in the earlier slide, it was a new client, so a new opportunity, and it created this specific project. So now we can tie a support request directly to the specific project that was created within Harvest. All of this is pretty automatic from using Zapier. So now we start the tracker, we start going through, we complete the support request, we stop the tracker, and then we can mark, we could reply through the email and say, hey, everything is done and resolved, mark it as closed, and it mirrors over and closes out the ticket on this end as well. So now let's move on to the next section. How do we invoice people for the work that we had done? So now, as you can see here, we have the 2 support tickets that we had tracked, so one for 45 minutes, one for 41 minutes. So now we're just going to create a quick invoice within Harvest. You create the invoice, send it out to the client. They have native integration with QuickBooks that it's going to copy over, see the invoice, and then they make a payment. They can pay through Stripe, PayPal, whatever their means of payment is, and then you mark it as paid. Or if they pay it, it automatically marks it as paid. So that gets copied over to QuickBooks as well. But the part we have Zapier sitting here and watching for is what happens when QuickBooks has a new payment. That's specifically what it's looking for. When the new payment comes in, that's when Zapier jumps in and says, that's a trigger, now what do you want me to do with it? Well, I want you to create an activity within that specific company within ProsperWorks and say, you logged a new payment. And it's specifically for this invoice, and it has the dollar amount and everything in it. So you can click it to get more information, or you can click specifically on one of those 2 links to be jumped out to that specific invoice. So now that all this has kind of come full circle, it's great because you can go to one specific client now and you can search by activity types and just see throughout the list like, hey, they sent out an email, we had a phone call, oh, they had a support request, and then we finished the support request, and then now we get a payment. It makes sense, and it's just this one kind of consolidated view of what's going on with the client. So it's taking all this other software that you're using that's working really well, and you can just go to ProsperWorks at the end of the day and just kind of see what the activity is and how everything's worked. So we're going to go to the final slide here before wrapping up into Q&A. And I want to go through a couple of Zapier tips and tricks that we have. So definitely use filters to use less tasks and to better fine-tune specifically what you're trying to do. They also have Zapier utilities, which there's an image on the right-hand side with some of the utilities that they have. So some of them are great where you can do, an email parser. So you can actually so you may get a very, bulk amount of data to come back from one of the softwares that you have in place. This can actually go through and parse through the data and pull out certain tidbits of information that you can then push through to a different SaaS software. One of our favorite ones that we use internally is the code one. So if you understand how to write JavaScript, you could really do anything with the data coming in or going out. So the data comes in, we manipulate it however we want to do it, and then we can push out the results and have it go into whatever software we want it to do. So one of the biggest questions we get often is, when should I automate? And we kind of have it broken down into 3 main types of automation that we specifically specialize in. So there's marketing automation, sales automation, and then business process automation. So with marketing automation, you can push lists of leads through email campaigns and make it appear like they're coming directly from you versus like a MailChimp. And then you can manage inbound leads in a help desk and delegate them to your internal sales team. You could pull in different landing page forms into your CRM and build up your lead list to then continue to the sales automation bit. So sales automation is improving your follow-up loop by automatically setting reminders for when to follow up with working opportunities. Automated personalized emails based on certain points they are throughout the sales process. Project closing emails, so asking clients for reviews, testimonials. I know everyone hates doing that, but it's so important to do. So why not just automate that? When a project is closed out, then have it send that email to them automatically, and then you can start building up your reviews and testimonials without even thinking about it. Overall, improving efficiency, and more importantly, kind of creating repeatable sales process. So the more automation you have, the less likely you're going to have an employee mess up what they're doing. So you get more consistency, and then when you have more consistency, that's where you can really scale, hire, and training becomes easier because they're just following a process that we have in place now. And then the final one that we really like to talk about is business process automation. So that's for repetitive tasks that you have on a day-to-day. So what you're doing over and over and over. And what we recommend for most clients is to document kind of their day-to-day and take note of when they're doing tasks that are repetitive. Because when that's done, that's where you can really dive in and say, hey, we can automate this because you're doing this over and over, and this will actually save us X amount of hours per week or per month. Now there's some value associated with if we can replace having to do this and have it done automatically, then this saves us this amount of time, and there's value to that. So don't just necessarily jump out and say, I want to automate everything. But there's definitely specific things, and it comes down to understanding your workflow and your sales cycle and everything like that. And that's where you can start to automate different processes once you understand that really well. So if you have any specific questions to the software that I mentioned in here, or getting your company in the mindset of automation, feel free to shoot out an email at info@CyberBytes Inc. And here are a couple webinar offers and coupon codes. I worked with some of the partners, so Reply, they give a very generous 20% discount ongoing with their software, which this has worked very well for many of our clients. Help Scout, you can get 3 months for free. If you don't have a help desk, just jump in and grab it and try it out. It's not very expensive. Otherwise, Harvest, there's a couple links here as well. If you're talking about time tracking, when you invoice based on time tracked and everything, definitely check that out as well. So let's move on to the Q&A section, see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and submit them now. And I just want to say a quick thanks to Alex and Kim and Britt presenting. You guys did a great job. Cool. So let's see what has come in. First question is for Kim. Zapier, do you integrate with Smartsheets?
Yes, we do integrate with Smartsheets. Probably the best way to check and see if we support your favorite app is to check out that Explore page and search for the apps. Or usually if you just do a Google search for Zapier Plus app, we rank pretty well on most apps. So yeah, answer is yes.
Cool. And then John is wondering, will ProsWorks dedupe the leads automatically?
The email is going to be the unique identifier here. So if you've already added a lead to our system, like John Smith, john@email.com, but you add the same one in with the same email, we're going to override it and recognize that as an already existing record.
Cool.
And to note for that too, I chose create lead as my action when I was demoing that Zap, but there's also a create or update lead action. So it sounds like ProsWorks would override it either way, but it can search for a lead and update the existing lead.
Good call, Kim. Yeah.
And then Grant's wondering if we will send a screenshot or PDF of the slides, and yeah, those will.
Oh, hey, Grant. Yeah, you're my customer. I'll send those to you.
Yeah, Brent is on it. Claudia is wondering, Alex, how much are you spending on this solution overall? How many vendors are you making payments to? How do you manage subscriptions monthly, annually? A lot of questions about how you have tailored this package.
Yeah, so this, I mean, internally, when I was first kind of doing it for ourselves, yeah, you were managing a bunch of different SaaS software and a bunch of different subscriptions, but that's where, when we manage it for our clients, we kind of try and take most of that. So like we can handle your ProsWorks subscription and Zapier and things like that, and you're really just paying us and we're paying them. So you only need to manage, one place. But there's a lot. You could probably have a project within Asana and just kind of list them out. I do that with clients. So essentially, here's a client. They're using ProsWorks. They're using Asana. They're using Zapier, and listing out is what they're specifically using. And yeah, there are a lot of things that you need to manage. But a lot of these places too, they have like automation or automatic billing as well. So just as long as they're billing you and you can track, okay, well this is an invoice or bill that was supposed to go through. It's like, okay, well things are fine. How much are we kind of spending? It depends. Like we've been able to hit a certain scale because we have enough clients, so we can get on a larger Zapier plan and make it more affordable to some of our clients as well, and kind of get them set up, and they don't need to take a lot of the learning curve. So it really depends. Some clients can be spending with us anywhere from $200 a month for some very bare bones things up to $2,000-3,000 a month if they're using very heavy automation, a lot going on, and that includes a lot of the cost of the software. the cost of ProsperWorks, and the cost of Zapier, and the cost of Asana, and all these other companies as well. Yeah.
This question is also for you, Alex. What industry of businesses does Cyberbytes specialize in?
So we really have a pretty broad range. We have construction companies, we have medical device startup, we have engineering firms, we have a, tough to explain, like a business plan competition. We have a lot of different companies, but there's a lot that overlaps, and we've kind of learned, yeah, we're trying to specialize too in certain areas where it's like, hey, if you're a construction company, then these are the best tools that you can utilize, but there's a lot of overlap. You can use ProsperWorks for so many different industries. So we're not necessarily saying, you know, only use ProsperWorks if you're in this industry. It works for so many. We could just tailor it to work better for you in that specific industry. So there's nothing specifically. I mean, there are definitely companies like restaurants, for instance, where they may not be using a CRM so much as they have other systems in place, and like ERPs are big for some companies. So there are some companies that we stay away from a little bit. For like ERPs, we're not dealing too much with that. But for a company that's dealing with sales, marketing, and business process, that's where we focus down on, and it really fits a lot of companies. We even do collection agencies, law firms. It's a wide range of companies, and it seemed to work pretty well for us.
I can speak to that too. I work with Alex on the partner level, and even when I'm demoing to the clients that he brings us, he's able to relate the business case very easily to our system. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Will there be a replay? Keith is wondering. Yes, we will have a recording that we will send to you after the broadcast, along with all the slides.
You love it so much you want to watch it twice?
Yeah. People ready to like sit down and watch it again. Okay, Blythe is wondering, $20 a month level with Zapier states 20 plus zaps at once. Is there a limit at that level?
A limit, so it's 20 zaps that are on at once. So you can build more than 20 zaps, and then you can toggle them on and off, and then the number that counts towards your maximum is what's live, what's on. And then we also, another level of billing is what we call tasks. So a task is anytime Zapier moves a bit of information from one place to another. And off the top of my head, I think it might be 1,000 tasks. But you can check out zapier.com/pricing, and it'll have the task limits as well.
And then Grant's wondering, any ideas for good inbound call center software that integrates with a phone system, Zapier or ProsperWorks?
Hey, Grant, I guess RingCentral is not really call center, but it's a VoIP system. That does integrate with our software. I can send recommendations as well in my follow-up email for call center.
Cool. And then Alan says, aloha. Thanks, guys, for your time today. How much time do you feel you spend to initially set up Zaps, from thinking about what you want to automate to actually setting it up, testing it, etc.?
Ooh, I could jump in on this. So it depends on how robust the Zap is that you're trying to do. Something simple you can get up and running, you know, in 10, 15, 20 minutes. Even for the things that are more complex, so the more familiar you get with the system, you're going to be more efficient with it. So we can get a pretty solid, robust Zap working in about an hour. But the thing is, as you start using it, these little things pop up where you need to make all these modifications to. So really, 80% of the time is the remaining like 10% of the Zap. So it's like those edge cases that pop up that you need to account for. That's what takes most of the time. But for it to quickly just get something up and running where I want this to trigger this, it's fairly quick and fairly seamless. It's really just the end of it that takes a lot more time. So it's a very broad question because it depends on so many different facets. But if there's a native integration with Zapier, then you can get them up and running fairly quickly, and then just to fine tune over time. And it's always going to happen. There's some Zaps that we built, you know, 6 months to a year ago, and we're still adding to it every now and then, or making fine tune tweaks because, hey, we weren't expecting to get this type of email to come in or this type of thing, and that's where you can tweak it and make changes to it.
To add to that, the Zaps that I've set up for my customers have taken me like 5 minutes, so I guess it can really range.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. And then Mark's wondering, do you have any clients that are small residential real estate?
Oh yeah, that's like, for whatever reason, we get a lot of inbound. Oh wait, are you talking about ProsperWorks or Cyberbytes?
I would answer the exact same way as you. Keep going.
Yeah, for whatever reason, real estate fits our model very nicely, so we get a lot of inbound activity from real estate. So the answer is yes. It's probably our most well-known industry. We have a lot of case studies on it as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a yes over here too. A lot of
Yep.
real estate agents use Zapier.
We are out of questions. If you guys have any questions left, please submit them now. If you think of something later, you can email sales@ProsperWorks, info@ProsperWorks, info@CyberBytes Inc., or
Contact
Zapier. Contact Zapier.
Contact
What's
Zapier.
going on an info roll? Okay.
Yeah, and just wanted to add one more thing. I thought it was really cool, Alex, how you shared your entire stack of apps that you work with. I think for small business owners, it's kind of tempting to just lean on a couple apps and try to make them do things that maybe they're not quite built to do, but you're like, well, how many apps do I really need, you know? And it goes back to what you said in the beginning that, you know, you have to use the right tool for the job. So with Zapier as like the thread invisibly behind all of this that can link everything together, it doesn't matter if you add another tool to your stack. It's not going to overwhelm you or waste your time by flipping back and forth because everything is kind of funneled where you need it to be. So
Exactly.
I haven't seen it laid out like that before, and it was really helpful to me.
I'm great that I was able to show that, and that's something that we've heard a lot with clients as well, that they do get a little bit overwhelmed sometimes. We're like, wait, so we're going from maybe using 1 or 2 pieces of software to now 5 or 6, but it's like really, if you're using it properly, then you don't even notice you're switching between them. The great thing with Google as well, a lot of companies allow you to just log in with your one Google login. So my clients don't even need to remember all these different logins. They go to Asana, they click Google login, they just log into their Google account. Same with Help Scout and ProsperWorks and everything. So it's really great with that. And then having the communication go between all the apps, it really is like you're using one cohesive app to do all of these things. But that you need to set it up properly through Zapier and these different tools in order to do it. But when it is done well, like it is great. I really am just opening up ProsperWorks, Asana, and occasionally Help Scout throughout the day, and I have all of this going on. But you know, that's all I really need to look at on a normal basis.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Great. So no more questions have come in. But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap things up.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. It was great meeting you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, guys. Thanks for presenting. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, shoot them over to any of us. We'll be happy to answer. Awesome. Yeah.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.